I kind of want to know a little bit more about the work you guys did during the Islamic Republic government, which is, I believe, under Karzai and Ashraf Ghani. I know you guys were both involved. I know the intentions were, like you guys said, rehabilitation. There was a lot of new changes coming. The country was modernizing in various ways. Omarjan, can you start us off and tell us a little bit about what you did, and then we can transition to Samir Jan as well.
Uh, when the government formed, I was in Pakistan. So I was just in high school, graduated, very fresh. Somebody told me at MSI there was an agency or an NGO that was hiring. So I started the first job. I went to the MSI. I think they were hiring me. They never hired me. But I was keep going around the streets and looking for jobs, and a person who used to earn his own money. And I was looking at my father. He has no money, and every day it was like I used to like 100,000 Afghani. I used to ask that, can I have money? Can I have money? Copy, and they call it CV or resume. They just keep printing it, and I nobody. And I used to walk from Makrian, say it was like at Makrian, all the way to the Intercontinental Hotel by walk every single day, because someone told me that the ISAF troops are coming there to look around the city. I said I might get a job as an interpreter over there. The first job I got it there, $5, $10 actually. I had the pride on myself, like how could somebody give me
$10 a day?
Huh?
$10 a day?
No, $10 the first job. The guy came
job,
in.
okay.
I
Like
think
per gig, something like that.
per
a
gig.
European
Okay.
troop came in. It was like all these military guys, and he said, "Okay, I should just give them a brief introduction about that, what they were looking at from the Baghbala." And as a good faith, that guy gave me a $10 or $5, and I had this pride. I never wanted to give her like free money, so and said I can't take the free money. And instead, how about if I give you this notebook? I had this notebook like very close to my heart, so I gave it to him. I came and ran down. I gave it to my father. And in fact, there was one other Afghan guy with me. I gave him a $5 to him. So I said, "Hey, you keep this 5, I keep 5," and I walked down towards the Khoi Markaz, the area.
Yeah.
So I gave that $5 to my father, and that haunted my father for till today. He would feel so, like happy, and also like you feel the pride. I look at them like, $5. It's not a big money, but having this intention to giving his first earnings.
Absolutely.
Then from there, I took off. I started working. I want to just take it back. A woman heard this story of mine that every day I walk, and that is how I did. And she asked me to come to his house. We're living in the same apartment complex. And she said, tomorrow morning, go to there's a agency or NGO called IRC, and they will hire you. They hired me as site foreman. The reason I'm going back to that, because an incident happened with me. So I got hired as a site foreman. It's just like a construction. I don't know what they call it in English, corres. There was a wheels, but all wheels are connected.
Mm-hmm.
So those wheels in Paghman district, during the time of the Russians, what happened? Some Afghans would try to hide themselves inside those wells, and Russians came in and they put the grenades over there. So all of them were blocked, and you could find the humans' bones over there.
Mm-hmm.
So my job was there to just making sure to take a look at it. But it's my first job. I thought it's very good. I took it very seriously. I took the rope and I put my feet and I go underneath the
You would go in the well?
Yes.
Oh my
I think
gosh.
after that I came back. I think there was some sort of a gas. So when I come back, I fainted. I think I passed out basically. I said I will take a
lacked
nap.
oxygen.
Yeah, maybe. So later on, after 2 hours, I wake up, and those guys said, they used to call me Engineer Sahib. So for them, I was an engineer, right? So I said, Engineer Sahib, are you okay? So I'm fine. They took this to the IRC. And IRC project manager called me there. What the hell are you doing? Why are you going there? I said, no, somebody told me you don't measure it properly. I said, you guys are not doing a good job. Let me go down and check it out.
Wow.
So from there, as I slowly start working, I will just make the story a little shorter. Then I started working for different companies. I think with Kabul Serena Hotel, something I wanted to mention that still our Afghans doesn't value that working for a hotel industry. Everybody thinks you're a waiter.
Yep.
So I joined Kabul Serena Hotel. It was a very pride for us because the old Kabul Hotel and changed it to Serena 5-star with the standards. And I was the first spokesperson for the Serena when we did the grand opening, and I met Prince Karim Aga Khan also. It was very like a big thing at that time.
Is
I
this
was
because
one
you
of-
spoke English?
Yes,
Hmm.
French basically, but yes. But I remember I was on the phone with Voice of America, and there was another one. I don't remember that radio, but I was on the call with them to explain everything.
Wow.
And my sales and marketing director said to the Prince Karim Aga Khan, said, "Hey, sir, do you know that Omar is on the news with the Reuters?" So that was one of the big achievements I considered, like being a part of that. But still, people say, "Buru biadarda wa talad was me." So like, come on, really? I'm not asking you to come in to join our hotel. I'm here to explain this. We can have these banquet halls and meetings and all this stuff. And I'm representing a totally different side of it, but not here to just sell the food or stuff to it. And later on, I joined the helping out with the U.S. government. So I started with a translator in a office called SIU. It's a Sensitive Investigative Unit, which was oversight or monitored by DEA. Then with the U.S. Embassy and INL, those are the projects we did. And from that, I had like a lot of crazy and funny and unexpected and very sad stories. But I'll let Samir John to share also.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, back in northern Afghanistan, when the transition happened, I was fresh out of high school, and we had just passed our exam to go to university. So in that process, I was actually looking for a job, and then at that time, of course, I spoke English because I graduated from this school called Afghan-Turk High School, and in that school, the level of education was higher than the level of education you would get in Afghan public schools. And for you to actually have that level of English or that level of understanding of English, you would have to go to a private course and then take tuitions, and after that, you would have to work really, really hard to actually understand English to that level that we understood going to this school. So I was looking for translator jobs. I remember I went with my dad. We went to the foreign office, the foreign ministry's office in the city of Mazar Sharif. That's where a lot of these foreigners or journalists would come in, and these journalists would look for a translator for them to actually take them to the field, because northern Afghanistan was the hot thing in the news. There was like trending all the news, that everybody from all parts of the world was pouring in here, and all these journalists, they needed a translator to take them around, to show them around. And then of course I tried so much, went office to office and office. Unfortunately, they were only giving these jobs to people that they knew, or people that were I would say their relatives, or people that they actually had connections. So I had no connection, right? So I would go there. I had these resumes similar to yours. We used to call them curriculum vitae, in the bold, and I had copies of that. I would go say, hey, I'm graduated from the school. I speak English. At that time, I spoke English, Pashto, Uzbek, Turkish, and then Farsi, of course. So I spoke 5 languages fluently.
Wow.
And I'm like, you could use me, right? This is me. I'm here. Let's go. But they would not. So I stumbled upon this position in the United Nations Joint Logistics Center. It's United Nations body that actually goes to crisis countries and set up the pathway for other organizations to come in. So if a disaster happens in a country, this agency would go in, then they would identify warehouses, ports, let's say airports, every single thing, and they would have pocket maps prepared for all these other agencies to come in. So they would hand them over, hey, this is the route you can use if you're bringing food items. This is the route you can use if you're bringing non-food items. These are the warehouses you can store what you're bringing. So we would make their life easy. This organization had just started, and they were looking for somebody to do their data entry. So they were looking for a data entry clerk. I went and I met my boss, Adrian. He was from Netherlands, and so I went to the door to actually meet him. He was in a meeting, and the guard said, "Just Amuja Bosch, just wait." I said, "Okay." I was there 9 o'clock in the morning. It was a little over 7:30 in the evening that this person was trying to go to his guest house, and he came out, and the guard is like, "This is the guy who you're trying to meet." And I have been there the entire day, at the door waiting for him. So I took the opportunity. I said, "This is who I am. I really want to have like 5 minutes with you, if you would have time tomorrow. And I know that you're looking for a data entry clerk. Will it work? What time would work?" And he said, "You know what? Why don't you come in 8 o'clock tomorrow morning?" I said, "Okay, I'll be there 8 o'clock tomorrow morning." He did commend me that, "Oh, you speak fluent English." I said, "Yeah, I tried to." I left, went home, very happy. Couldn't sleep throughout the night, I'm sure. And waited,
Yes.
and I'm like, okay, well, this is a golden opportunity. You're gonna go talk to somebody inside the United Nations. And the next day, 8 o'clock in the morning, I went there. He said, "Okay, so I'm looking for somebody who's really good in Excel." Back in the school, my friends, my nickname for them was Excel, because I was so good in Excel that everybody would call me Excel. So I'm like, okay, this is the opportunity for you to actually show what you actually know. So the spreadsheet they had were very complicated spreadsheets, because you have agencies, hundreds of agencies bringing 200, 300 items each and bringing it into the country for aid, and you have to keep track of that. So he gave me a document and he said, "Can you make charts? Can you show me what are the food and non-food items that entered the country in the past 1 week?" I said, "Okay." I sat there, I would say 5 minutes, had the chart graphs for him, and he saw that. "You know what? Can you start work from today?" And I said, "Yeah." And he's like, "Okay, well, for right now, since we are not under contract, since the office has started, I'd like to start you as a daily wage. So you'll start as a daily wage worker for $10 a day." $10 a day back then was a lot of money.
Just hold your thought. I want to share something that's like, I don't want to forget that. He had a very, I call it the easy path to get to that job. I remember, so during this struggle times to get into to work, so my uncle, he took me to one of his friend's offices, those construction companies.
Okay.
Those guys had this like a Word document and gave it to me. I created a table. Later on, they wanted to for something on that paper. He gave it to me. They said, like, "Okay, now make like this." I said, "Okay." It took me a couple of hours to make that thing. I couldn't do it. They were so pissed off at me. Like, how could you say that you know Word, Excel, all this stuff? Exactly same word. I computer کار است $200 ماش میده. Like, I give him $200 like a monthly salary, whatever you call it. And I fell in it. I went to the bathroom and you have to use. So the bad thing happened. I used the restroom. I come out. I thought there's a water, and I just throw out and flush everything out. Later, I noticed that wasn't a water. That was a gasoline for the generator. And they were so mad at me.
Oh.
Because of my uncle, they kept that job for me. And I wanted to kick mine. I said, "Get out of here. There's no job for you."
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
The struggle.
You couldn't tell between the gasoline and water?
It was dark, man. And
Sitting in the bathroom, come on.
I said, like,
Just pour
okay. Man, and it was not in an actual, like, proper gallon. It
Yeah.
was just like in a...
In a bucket?
No, like a Porsche, what do they call it? Little jug stuff.
Yeah.
What would you say was the peak of your career in Afghanistan? What were you doing?
Well, as soon as I started with the United Nations, I started as a data entry clerk. Within 6 months of that job, I was invited to come to Kabul and be part of a task force. And the task force was for the currency exchange program. So Afghanistan used to have a denomination that was worthless. A dollar at that time was, I think, 50,000 Afghan rupees.
Wow.
Or Afghanis. I should not say rupees. So Afghanis, right? so that project, I came into Kabul. That exposed me to a lot of other agencies and a lot of other people. That and that process, I used to frequently meet with delegations, high-ranking officials. But then, what I would say the peak of my career was when I was working for the INL contractor, the U.S. Department of State's INL contractor, CSSP, which was the Correctional System Support Program. With them, I was the project advisor for their case management and prison classification. So we were the people who actually made sure that anybody who is in the prison has got at least 3 files. They have a social file, a medical file, and a legal file. Because when you look at Afghanistan has been a war-torn country. Somebody would be in jail because of somebody's phone call, and that person would sit in jail with nobody even knowing why he's there and when he came in or what happened. So we were there to make sure that everybody goes due process. Actually, they have a prosecutor, they have a defense, and of course, they see a judge, and judge tells them how long they're going to stay. Because we have throughout our career, when we started processing all these cases or reviewing all the cases, we found our people that were there because of a dispute that they had with a commander, and this commander got pissed off, called the warden and said, "Hey, I'm sending you this and this. Why don't you keep him there for, let's say, a couple of weeks till he understands the value of whatever, and he knows who I am, and then I will call you back and you release him." So the warden would have this person in the jail, right, or the prison, and by some miracle, warden and this other person would just forget about this guy who was in the prison, and this guy would be in prison for 2 years, not have seen a single judge, does not have a single file, there's no charge sheet, there's no arrest, there's no warrant, nothing. So we would go there, we would find these people, and we'd document everything, and we would make sure if they have nothing, they would be released. And that was a successful project that we took, and that would say I would say that was the peak of my career, because we were making we were impacting people's lives. We were there for the good. I have literally sat and met and interviewed Taliban fighters face to face, like me and you sitting together. I have had a team of 84 case managers and classification managers throughout Afghanistan that we would bring into Kabul. We would train them, we would hire them, we would train them and send them back, and they would go and sit an interview. So I would go to Pulachaki prison, for example, or the women's prison, or the Kabul detention center, or the narcotics prison where you used to work. So we would go to these prisons, and then we would interview everybody. And through that process, in the first year, we were able to release, I believe, was 167 individuals.
Wow.
Within the first year. These are all the people that were in prison with no documentation and no crimes committed. They were just there for the sake of somebody sending them there.
That's a very impactful position that you were in.
Like actually changing lives. How did that feel when you got them released?
Well, it felt the moment that it will make you very emotional is when you would see them unite with their families. A lot of these people that were in prison, when they would get out, they would not even have a single Afghani in their pocket for them to actually make it anywhere. And you would ask them, okay, where do you want to go? And they would not know where they're going, because for them, they're like, I don't remember my home. My family used to live here, but since I was incarcerated, I don't even know if they could afford to stay in that property anymore. So I'm not sure if they are there or not. There were no phone numbers. He had no contact of anybody. So then we would try to communicate with other agencies, and we would try to get them help. And in some cases, before we would release them, we would find their family members to come and actually take them or sign off for them. So that when you see them reunite with their family, that's the moment you say, you know what, this is really worth it.
That's amazing.
Did they allow visitations in prisons at that time?
Right? Do you mean just visitations, or are you trying to go somewhere?
No, just visitations.
Okay.
I think everything was allowed at that time. I know.
Because yes, they do. Well,
Like were the families allowed to come and visit?
yes, they would. The families would come allowed to visit. They were allowed conjugal visits also.
Okay.
So to answer that question, back in every prison, prison in Afghanistan, the visitation area is different. Of course, it's designed differently. But given the cultural differences and also sensitivities of Afghans, they would build these in prison built tents. They would have these small tents that they would put in the recreation area during visitation days. So each prison would have a tent. And then their family would come in, and then they would just go inside the tent and then talk, and of course they would have food, drinks, and all that, and then they would leave. So, but throughout the process of us changing the way the government, the way that prisons operated, we had to change a lot of that. We had to systemize a lot of things. For example, a prisoner in Afghanistan used to be recorded as their first and last name. Okay, how many Ahmads do you think are there in prison?
Hundreds, thousands.
Right? So that's how they would look for somebody. If you're looking for somebody's record, let's say Ahmad somebody, right? They would look for that first name and then the last name and the father's name, the grandfather's name to find that person. We came in and we introduced a PIN number, which is a prisoner identification number. So with a prisoner identification number, it's easier for you to actually understand who the prisoner is, right? So the prisoner would hold a prisoner identification number, and then we'll take a picture, put it in his record, and they will, of course, it will go to their file. So it makes it easier for them to know where this person is, which block they're in, what's their health status, have they been to the doctor, have they been to the dentist, when was their last checkup, for example, what are the symptoms they had, every single detail. We would make sure that every prisoner has these information, because prior to that, you don't have. In Afghanistan, there is no segregation in prisons, right? You would have a guy who would come into the prison as a petty theft, right, or pickpocket, and they would put him with a suicide bomber. Next thing you know, you have two suicide bombers. Because he would make sure that he's going to brainwash him to the extent that when the guy gets out, because they did not have segregation at that time. So we had to come in and say, hey, you can't have everybody in Gen Pop. You really have to make sure to segregate them based on their crimes and their behaviors and all those systems. So we would actually make sure everybody was treated fairly and they had access to their legal files, to their medical files, and also to their social files. And also they would have defense and doctor and all that stuff.
Thank you everyone for joining us at the Majlis podcast. We would love your support, so please like, comment, share, and subscribe.